Hello and welcome to the last reading vlog for 2025, where I go over everything I read in December. And in December I read 22 volumes, which after pulling up a calculator and adding all the months together, brings a yearly total of 298 volumes read, which I was just 2 off reaching 300. I didn't have like a set goal of an amount I wanted to read or anything. I don't tend to set any goals. I just tend to try and read at least one volume every day, which doesn't always happen. Obviously, because I would have read 365 if I did read every day. But yeah, I read 298, so I was just 2 off reaching 300 reads, which is an increase on last year of 23, because last year I read 275. The month where I read the most manga was a tie between March, September and October, in which I read 29 in all those months. And the month I read the least in was November, in which I read 21. But I did read over 20 volumes every month. And here is like the totals for all the months. So yeah, that's my yearly total of 298 volumes. Maybe this year I'll reach 300. I won't know until the end of the year when I add everything up. But I'm not gonna like pressure myself to get that many. I'll just be happy with however many I reach, and if I reach 300 then great. If not, then it's also okay. But anyway, on with the December reading log and the last 22 volumes that I read of the year. The first one being which I read on the 1st. Dysfunctional Family Theory. I found this plate stand, which is for plates, but it works well for books, so I'm going to be putting them on here. I read this on the 1st, and I gave it 3.5 stars. This is a BL, which follows this 2 guys, and both of them at one point were in a relationship with the same woman, and recently this woman has died, and they've both been given a letter that says to come to her mother's house, and when they get there they realise that each other are there, and like they used to know each other in the past, and yeah, they don't get on. But anyway, the reason that they were called to this house is because the woman they were dating had a daughter, and the father of this daughter is one of these 2 guys. But in her will, the mother of the child said she doesn't want a DNA test, and that she wants the daughter to go to whatever man she chooses to be her dad. But the grandmother doesn't just want to hand her over to a stranger, because the grandmother doesn't know these guys. So she decides to have the 3 of them move into a house together so that she can get used to the dads and decide which one she would like as her father. This little girl is quite mature for her age, and she's also quite cynical. And the guy on the front here is the main character, and he is a struggling musician. He's currently a ghostwriter writing songs for another musician, but he's a ghostwriter, so he's not getting any of the credit. But every time he tries to release a song of his own, it doesn't go well. And the guy in the back is kind of suspicious and hinted at to possibly be a gangster of some sort, the one with black hair. And they're constantly fighting with each other over, because neither of them really want to be this girl's dad. But this is also a BL, so obviously these 2 start to develop feelings for each other. And yeah, this one's only 2 volumes, and I liked it enough to pick up the second one. It was a fun read, and I did like the dynamic between the 3 of them. So yeah, I'll definitely be picking up volume 2 and reading that one as well. It reminded me a little bit of Buddy Daddies, with the 2 guys looking after a little girl, and one of them being in the gang, being a gangster. Well, Buddy Daddy's the hitman, but one of them is a gangster, the other one is a musician. But it reminded me a little bit of that. So maybe if you enjoy Buddy Daddies, give it a go. It's definitely, I think, worth the read if you want a family BL. Not family as in it's suitable for all ages because it is 15 plus, but family as in it's about a family. It is not. There's no like explicit stuff in it though. It is only rated 15. I didn't read anything on the second. I don't remember why. I might have just fancied not reading that day, or it might have been for a reason. Anyway, on the 3rd, I read Otaku Vampires Love Right, Volume 3, and I give this one 4 stars. Love this series. If you've watched my top 10 reads of the year video, which I put out a couple of days ago, then you'll know this was one of them. If not, then that's a spoiler for that video. I won't mention what placement I put it in case you haven't watched that video and you want to go and check out what my top 10 reads of the year were. I love Attack of Vampires Love Bite, and this volume was also great. It was like the same amount of like funny as the other ones, and yeah. Was it? Yeah. They went to an inn. That's right. This guy's friend, who is has a crush on him, won tickets to a hot spring, and they wanted the two of them to go together so they could grow closer, and so they go on this trip, and then every other character in the series ends up crashing the trip, and hijinks ensues. So yeah, it was another good volume, very enjoyable. I adore this series. I adore Hina. She's a great main character. I always mention how she's relatable to an otaku and someone who is obsessed with like either a fictional character or like even like an idol or something like that. It's relatable. So yeah, very fun series. Always a pleasure to read a volume, and yeah, one of my favourite reads of the year. And I think there's a couple more out which I should probably pick up because I do really love the series. But yeah, very fun volume. Highly enjoyable. Oh yeah, there was a cosplay meetup in this one as well, where because he looks like the Mao from her favourite show, she convinced him to join her at the meetup, and he wasn't too thrilled about that. So next, I didn't read anything on the 4th, again, can't remember why. And then on the 5th and the 6th, I read Like a Butterfly 11 and 12. I don't think I can get those both on there, so I'm just gonna like kind of do that. Right, that'll do. 12's a bit cut off, but yeah, you get the idea. So, volume 11 of Like a Butterfly is actually the final volume in the series. 12 is all side stories, none of which are very continuations. They all like take part throughout the series, apart from one about the girl the female love rival that liked him. There's a sequel chapter about her, but all the other ones were kind of just ones that took place throughout the series and also written throughout the series, and it just been like amalgamated into this one volume. Yeah, overall, Like a Butterfly was a very cute shoujo series. It was sweet. It was cute. It was just like a nice read. There was some drama as well. But yeah, overall, I would probably give it 7 out of 10. It was very cute. It was enjoyable, but not one of my absolute favourites. And yeah, I gave both volumes like 3.5 stars. Yeah, one of the more like enjoyable side stories of volume 12 was the sequel with the love rival, and then there was the one of the chapters is a crossover with Daytime Shooting Star. which I'm currently reading. I haven't finished it yet. But these are all the side stories. And this, where is it? Daytime Butterflies is a crossover between like Butterfly and Daytime Shooting Star, where the couples from each of those series end up looking after a missing child in a mall, lost and found, together. So if you haven't read Daytime Shooting Star, that chapter will spoil the person she ends up with in the end of that. Which I haven't finished Daytime Shooting Star, but I know who she ends up with in the end, so it didn't really spoil anything for me. But if you haven't, just a warning, if you're planning to read Volume 12 of Like a Butterfly and you haven't read Daytime Shooting Star and you want to read Daytime Shooting Star, just maybe skip over that chapter unless you want, if you don't want to get spoiled on the end game of that one. But yeah, it was a very pleasantly read. Nothing groundbreaking, but very pleasant, and I enjoyed my time with it. And it is now complete. I like completing series. It feels good. Especially when I'm reading over like 200 different things. Anyway, next, I didn't read anything on the 7th. Again, don't know why. There could have been, Jet could have had a vet appointment that day. It might have been that. She goes every month to get wormed until she stops putting weight on. Which still hasn't happened yet. Oh, this is Correct Size to Die, which I read Volume 5 on the 5th and Volume 6 on the 9th. No, I read Volume 5 on the 8th. Volume 6 on the 9th. I gave both 4 stars, so the omnibus as a whole, 4 stars. This is because this is an omnibus, it's a 2-in-1. And this omnibus was great. Again, another series I adore. I like the Greek mythology setting, and I like Hades and Corette, super cute. They had some cute moments in this volume. This volume also introduced us to Dionysus, the god of wine. And he was an interesting character. We also got introduced to Corette's older brother, one of the other apprentices that her master adopted when she was a kid, because she was the youngest of, I think, 5. I think, no, there was 6. She had 5, 2 other girls and I think 3 boys who were also adopted by the master, and they're all became siblings. So yeah, the oldest brother, because her oldest brother and her oldest sister both took over the apothecary after her master died. So yeah, her oldest brother is an apothecary, and he comes to the town where Corette is. And so he's introduced in this volume. We also get some more development with her 2 apprentices. And obviously we get the stuff with Dionysus. So far we've had Zeus, Dionysus, and was it Athena? Or Demetra? One of the goddesses. I can't remember which one it was exactly. So we are kind of getting introduced to all of the Greek gods. We haven't had Poseidon yet. I don't think we've had Hera yet. Hermes, Hephaestus, Artemis, Apollo. Have we had Apollo? What's Apollo's sister called? Is it Aphrodite? Aphrodite, I think, is Apollo's sister. I think we've had Athena, or it was possibly Demeter. And then we've definitely had Hades, we've definitely had Zeus, and we've had Dionysus. But I don't think Dionysus is one of the 12 Olympians. I think he was cast out. I'm trying to remember my Percy Jackson knowledge and remember the name of all the Greek gods. I know there's 12 Olympians. Hades not one of them because he's in the underworld. He's not in Mount Olympus. And Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades are siblings, and they were born from Kronos, who was a titan. Yes. All my Greek mythology knowledge comes from reading Percy Jackson as a child. But yeah, we've had a few of the gods introduced. So yeah, really like the volume. Super nice series. I'm looking forward to seeing these two relationship develop even more, because they do have some very cute moments in this one, and Hades gets a bit jealous, and Colette gets a bit jealous when all the goddesses are there. Yeah. Really like Colette Decides to Die. And this volume was no exception. I like it more and more the more I read of it. This is really good. Next, on the 10th, I read The Big Apple, Volume 1. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is like a supernatural action BL. It's a manhwa. We follow the blonde guy on the front is a hitman, and it's his job to take out targets that his company gives to him. And he's quite good at his job. He doesn't usually fail, but he's given this latest job that he is given to take out the leader of this like criminal organization. It ends up going wrong, and this guy who's a member of the Knights Templars shows up, and he uses like firepower against him. And then that we are told that in this world there is powers. Not everyone has powers, but the Knights Templars tend to have powers. And I think our main character has some sort of power with long distance sight, because he's a sniper. I know one of them has anti-gravity. And he has to conceal his job and everything. And he's dating the black hair guy. They're already in a relationship at the start of the series. He's dating him, but he has to conceal his identity from him. He can't let him find out that he is a hitman. But he wants to quit his job. He wants to leave, but he can't because the organization won't let him. So yeah, and the black hair guy is kind of shifty. I think he knows things that he's not letting on. He's definitely got knowledge that the blonde guy doesn't know about as well. They're definitely both hiding things from each other, and I have a feeling that he might know he's a hitman and just not letting on that he knows. Yeah, this was definitely an interesting read. You go in expecting just a action BL with like hitmen and stuff like that, but then you get the fantasy supernatural element to it as well, and then he also mentions of a dragon. So apparently there's a dragon in this series as well. She hasn't been made an appearance yet, but she's been mentioned a couple of times. So yeah, I did enjoy this one, and I would be interested in continuing it. And also this volume, thanks to this volume, I now know what genital beading is. I had to look it up because it was mentioned, and yeah, I didn't need to see those images. I'm not gonna explain it, but if you wanna look it up, just Google genital beading. Oh, there was another name for it as well, just, yeah. I know what having a beaded penis means. Because of this manhwa. So yes, next I read another BL. This one didn't have me looking up meanings of yes, body modification in the nether regions. So yeah, this is Lethal Dose of Love. I read this on the 11th and I gave this 4 stars. This one was a lot darker than what I was expecting it to be. So we followed 2 guys who went to, I think, high school together. And then one day the black hair guy confesses to the main character that he loves him, but then the next day he just disappears. And we don't know why. And so our main character who is now in college, or has just left college, is looking for him. He moved to Tokyo because he heard that he was in Tokyo, but obviously Tokyo is a big place and he doesn't know how he's going to find him exactly, but he thinks, I'm never going to find him at all if I don't go. So he moves to Tokyo for college. I think he's since graduated college. He might be in his final year. Can't quite remember. It's been about, I think, 5 or 6 years since they've seen each other anyway. And he just happens to be walking one night and he comes across him and he's like, I've been looking for you. Why did you confess to me and then just run off? I wanted to tell you that I have feelings for you as well. And he's like, you must have the wrong person. And he's like, I definitely don't have the wrong person. I recognise who you are. But he's become very distant with him and he doesn't really want to interact with him. So he kind of follows him home and realises that he is living in an apartment and in a relationship with a much older man who he's kind of doesn't really have feelings for. He's just there because he has nowhere else to go, basically. And yeah, do look up the trigger warnings for this one if you want to give it a go. I really enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed the darker that it was, a bit darker than I expected. But yeah, do look up the trigger warnings for this one. There is instances in here of abuse, both physical, emotional, and sexual, towards a child. So yeah, if you're not okay with having that sort of thing in your BL or in your manga in general, do look up trigger warnings. So yeah, I thought it was a good read and I enjoyed the story, and I thought their relationship together was quite cute once they got past all of the trauma and stuff. Come on. I'm gonna have to go close the door. He has opened it. So if you want a BL with some like darker tones to it, give this one a go. It's a great one shot. I've enjoyed it personally. But yeah, it is also explicit. It's mature. This is the main character, by the way. He's on the back. This is the other guy. I originally got this for the cover because I thought the cover was very nice, but I ended up really enjoying the story as well. It's a good one. Next, on the 12th, I read Honey Lemon Soda Volume 9. I gave this 4 stars. I really love Honey Lemon Soda. I think it's very cute and nice. So this volume introduces us to a new character she's a girl in Kai's class who's very similar to Uka. So Uka's starting to feel kind of insecure because of this girl. So we have Uka kind of having these sorts of feelings of jealousy and insecurity for the first time. We also have her trying to make friends on her own and become a bit more independent. Like, she's kind of starting to grow a bit as a character and get some development, as in she's putting herself out there to try and make friends on her own without the help of Kai, who's obviously now in a different class. But yeah, this one is very good. I like Uka, I like her development, and I like Kai as well. He can be a bit of a jerk sometimes, but overall he is nice. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens in the next volume. According to the next time at the back, the next volume will conclude this story with this new character. But yeah, I very, very love this series. I think it's great. Next, is another high school romance. This one being Fallen Love You False Angels Volume 2. I gave this one 4 stars. I read on the 13th. I ended up liking this one more than Volume 1. I did enjoy Volume 1, but I started to enjoy it more in volume 2. The same thing that happened with another one that I haven't got to yet. But yeah, I find that sometimes with high school romances, it can take a couple of volumes before I actually really get into it. I like whether you like the first volume kind of introduces the characters and like builds them up a little bit, and then the second volume tends to be where I start really enjoying it. Same thing with Honey Lemon Soda. I love Honey Lemon Soda, but I didn't really get into it until volume 2. And that's the case to this one, and also another one that I'm going to talk about in 3 volumes time. Yeah, this one is a high school romance where she's the president, the student council president, he's the vice president. And at school they come across as being all perfect, but they're actually hiding their true selves because they're like false angels. They're not the perfect people that they try to make themselves appear to be in school. And he finds out about her true personality, then she finds out about his true personality, and she's then sort of drawn to him, and she develops feelings for him. And that's kind of what happened in the first volume. In this one we see a bit more of her realising her feelings and getting to the point where she kind of wants to confess, but she's kind of hesitant to do so because she doesn't know whether he likes her back or not. And then they had some like cute moments together. They had some moments where they could like relate and laughed. And then they also went on a school trip. A lot of this volume took place on the school trip, where they went to some place. I don't remember the place they went to. It was some place in Japan that they often go on school trips. But yeah. And then the end, it ended on a cliffhanger. So now I need the next one, which I think is out. I think there's 4 out. So, yeah, very interested to read the next one after that cliffhanger to see what happens and how things go. But yeah, I really like the second volume. That's why with high school romances I like to give them at least 2 volumes before I drop them. If I'm not feeling volume 1, sometimes I can start really loving it in volume 2, or if I think volume 1's just okay, I can also start really loving it in volume 2, and if it gets to like 2-3 volumes in and I'm still not feeling the relationship or thinking it's more than just okay, I tend to drop it at that point. But yeah, this is a good example of why I don't drop high school romances after the first volume, because I really like the second one. Not that I didn't like volume 1, as I said, I thought it was quite good. I just wasn't as invested in the couple until I read the second one. And now I'm in for the longer haul, because I really want to read more. As I said, the same sort of thing happened with Honey Lemon Soda, and now I'm absolutely adore that series. Next, this is one where I did very enjoy the first volume, and I enjoyed the second volume just as much. So this is With You I'll Ever Make It Through volume 2. I gave this 4 stars, and I read it on the 14th and the 15th, so it took me a couple of days to read it. This one's very cute, and also horny. It's not steamship levels of horny, but it is horny. And this volume, yes, there was more of that. We follow the main character is the girl here, and in this world you have humans and beastmen live on one side of the wall and humans live on the other side of the wall, but the wall is open, they can come and go between the two sides. But beastmen are kind of viewed as being like scary and non-human, and people like are prejudiced against them. So there's a human school, and this beastman is enrolled in this human school because he wants to become a doctor, and you can't really, there's no schools to really do that on the beastman side. And he, as a beast, he's like a wolf dog guy, and she instantly like becomes interested in him, and she gives off pheromones which he is attracted to, and they kind of send him into heat, hence the horniness. This is apparently a sequel series to something called Hannah and the Beastman, which is full on smut from what I've heard, but we don't have that one in English. This one also has an anime, which I think is just ended, which I'm very interested in checking out now that it's finished. I think it's finished. But yeah, it must be because the new season started, because Timon's and Hanakimi started coming out. So yeah, this volume introduces us to a new character who is a cat beast man, or beast woman in her case. And she comes into it like right near the end. So I'm interested to see where things go with her character and how she like mixes things up a bit. Because she also has a human friend. They're like a trio. Obviously she has feelings for the dog. And the dog also has feelings for her, but there's also a human friend who also has feelings for her. And him and the dog, I can't remember his name, I'm terrible with names, are best friends. So they're also now rivals. But they don't want to be like... They don't dislike each other, they're still friends even though they like the same girl. But yeah, it's surprisingly wholesome considering it's a dog guy. I still find it weird how he has fingernails though. I suppose he is half human. And next, on the 26th, I read Takosaku Volume 7. This is 2 more volumes before the series ends. I gave this 3.5 stars. This volume was very dramatic. There was a lot of misunderstandings and drama around the main couple, or who are not yet a couple, and other characters who are kind of getting in the way, and I don't... The guy on the front, I really don't like him. But yeah, it's Iosaki Taka. Most of her series are like similar. If you like one, you're probably going to like the others because they're all along the same like line of high school romance with drama. And her art style is always very cute. I do like Iosaki Taka. I wouldn't say she's my favourite author, but I do like her stuff. They're always easy to read. If you want something like easy to read that you can get through quickly, there's just grab an Iosaki Taka. Yeah, the drama was heavy in this volume, and it's probably going to continue to be for the last 2 volumes. But yeah, I did enjoy it. There's the back cover. I do remember the names of the characters in this one because one of them is Saku and one of them is Sakura, which is the title. Saku, Sakura. Next, this is the one I was on about before. I didn't read anything on the 17th. And on the 18th, I read It Takes More Than a Pretty... Oops. Yes. It takes more than a pretty face to fall in love, Volume 2. This is read. I did enjoy Volume 1, but I wasn't completely invested until I read the second volume. And after reading the second volume, I'm like, yeah, I really like this. I want more. I don't think this volume wants to stand up. Right. I think it's because it's smaller. There we go. Yeah, she is a big fan of guys with pretty faces. She just loves beautiful men. And she goes to the school where one of the guys in the school is like an influencer, but he doesn't use social media. And she likes him because obviously he has a pretty face. But then the two of them come together because he's at risk of being expelled. And he needs to run the social media account and attract more students to the school because the school doesn't get a lot of students. And if he needs to get like, I think 100,000 followers, something like that, and then he will be saved from being expelled. But obviously he doesn't know how to use social media. He's kind of technologically inept. So he recruits her to be the social media manager for him. And obviously through doing this, she gets to learn that he is more than a pretty face, and he kind of has a complex about being just a pretty face. And he wants people to realise he has a personality and he's not just nice to look at. And obviously during the process of this, they start to develop feelings for each other. And in the second volume, he's pretty obvious with his feelings. He is coming on to her and she's just kind of oblivious. And I found it really cute. And yeah, I'm definitely invested in these two now, and I definitely need to read more to see how things go and whether they get together. And obviously this is a romance, they're gonna get together at some point. I think this one's like 15, 16 volumes. I think it ended recently. But yeah, the second volume was very cute, and yeah, I definitely want to continue it because I am now invested in these two. There was another character who was introduced who may become a love triangle, which I don't like love triangles, but I will put up with it if I have to, because if I really like the main couple and I really like the story, then I will put up with a love triangle, even if I do find them annoying. But yeah, really liked this one, and I now, yeah, definitely gonna be a series I'm gonna be reading the entirety of. Because I really like this second volume. It's another good example of why I need to give like romances at least 2 volumes to get like invested, because if I'm reading a romance and I don't like the main couple, there's not much point in me reading it. So yeah, I need to give it at least 2 volumes to get to know the couple and to see what they're kind of going to be like. And then I'm like, yeah, I like them. Gonna like this series. So I'm gonna read it all. And then I have another high school romance, but this one being more of a messy one. And that is No Longer Heroine 9 and No Longer Heroine 10. So I finished No Longer Heroine. I gave them 3.5 stars each. I would probably give this series a 7 out of 10. It's very messy. It's very dramatic. The characters aren't necessarily great people. I mean, our main heroine has a heroine complex and she's quite selfish and self-absorbed. And then the main male lead, well, there's one is a playboy, but he kind of improves a bit. And then one of them is her childhood friend who she's convinced she is the heroine of her story and she's going to be in a relationship with him no matter what because she is the heroine. And he gets in a relationship with another girl and she realises maybe I'm not the heroine, which is why it's called No Longer Heroine. But yeah, he's not much better than she is because he's kind of hot and cold. One minute he's like, I'm with this girl, then he's like, but maybe I like you too. And then he's like, no, but I'm with this girl, but maybe I like you too. So he kind of reads her on and then like is like, second thoughts. So yeah, he can be a kind of annoying, more so than her. She's selfish, but she's funny. He can just be very aggravating sometimes with the way he's wants her 1 minute and then doesn't the next. and then waiting until she's in a relationship with somebody else and then saying he wants her and then it's like, but I'm with this guy now. You didn't want me, so I got with him. But now you do. And then deciding again, he's annoying. But yeah, overall the series was just messy, dramatic fun, and I did enjoy it, which is why I'll give the series a 7 out of 10. This is one where I wasn't maybe that like bothered about who she ended up with, because I read this one not necessarily for the relationships, I read it for the drama and the messiness. I wasn't bothered which guy she ended up with or whether she ended up with none. Because honestly, that would probably be the best option. But yeah, wasn't really one I was reading for the romance. I was more reading it for the messy drama, which is what this series is. And yeah, I've enjoyed it. 7 out of 10. So yeah, next, on the 20th, I read Bed and Breakfast for Spirits, Volume 10. Gave this one 3.5 stars. This one ends like the first half of the anime. It ends in the same place where the first half of the anime does. Obviously, I have watched the anime. I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I have watched all of season 1, so none of this is new content to me. I know everything that happens from the anime. It's just kind of reading it in manga form until it finally gets up to the point past the anime. Which now we've got a season 2 is going to be a while, because this is the halfway point of season 1. So it's probably going to be like 20 volumes before we get to the end of season 1. If the second half is also going to take 10 volumes. And then season 2 will be maybe another 10 volumes. Who knows? I know the light novel's finished that this is based off of, but we don't have it in English. Because the light novel will be a good way for me to be able to get past the anime's content a lot sooner. If somebody would be nice enough to license that in English, preferably physically, that would be great. But for now, we only have the manga. And I do enjoy the manga. As I said, I know everything that happens in these first probably 20 volumes. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's a fantasy cooking series with yokai, and she makes food. And there's some vegetables. Some cucumbers, tomatoes, and lettuce, although tomatoes are actually a fruit. So it's a fruit and vegetable. Next, on the 21st, I read Timon, his B-side. I gave this one 4 stars. Again, really love this series. I was surprised by how much I really like the series. It's like a comedy idol series, and I'm not into idols. I don't follow idol culture. I'll like listen to J-pop, K-pop, or anything. Other than when I watch anime and I listen to the opening and ending songs. But yeah, J-pop and K-pop are not the like go-to music that I tend to listen to. So I'm not into idols, so I didn't expect to like this, which is why I initially skipped over it when it was announced. But yeah, I decided to give it a go because the anime was coming out, everyone was talking about it, and I was like, I'm so glad I did. Another reason I kind of skipped over this one is because I wasn't keen on Takane and Hana. I actually dropped that after 3 volumes, and this is the same author. But I think this is a lot better than Takane and Hana. I like the comedy in this one, and I like the main character, Utage. I actually remember her name, and obviously I remember Timon's name because he's the main character, and his name's on the front of the book. So I really like Utage. She's an otaku, she's relatable. Even if her obsession is idols, it's still relatable to people who are obsessed with something that isn't an idol. And yeah, I like Timon as well. Obviously, he has his stage personality and then his B-side personality, and he is quite sweet. And then this volume introduces one of his bandmates, who is this black-haired guy on the cover, and I don't like him. He might grow on me, but at the minute, I do not like him at all. And I think throughout, we're probably going to be introduced to his other 3 bandmates as well. I mean, they're kind of in a competition to see who gets to be the face of Face, because their band's called Face. And Timon wants to learn about love to help him out. And Utage now thinks of herself as his mother. That's kind of what went on in this volume. And it was very good. I would happily recommend checking out Timon's B-side. Maybe watch the first episode of the anime, which has just come out. I'm hoping for a dub. So far there's not one. Because with it being a music series, they don't often get dubbed. But I'm hoping we do get one, because given some music series, then that got a dub, even if it took years. Because I will watch it subtitled if I have to, but I'd much prefer to watch it dubbed. So yeah. Next, we're coming to near the end now. Wolf Going Back Prince 12, another high school romance. I read a lot of high school romance this month. Which I read a lot of high school romance probably every month. This one I gave 3 stars because this volume annoyed me. Kyoya, I remember his name, annoyed me because there was some drama that went on surrounding jealousy, mainly. And Erica, I'm going to give some slight spoilers for this volume. She has a childhood friend who liked her when they were kids, and they recently met up again and they're working at a convenience store together, but he's told her that he no longer has feelings for her. But obviously, there was some drama and misunderstandings around that, and also around another girl who's been hanging around with Kyoya, not Kyoka. And in this volume, they kind of have a big fight, then they make up. But the reason for this is because the guy she's working with in the convenience store does still have feelings for her, and he lied about no longer liking her, and he's convinced that he would be much better for her than Kyoya, and he's convinced that because he had feelings for her first, he's kind of entitled to her, and so he's a complete asshole, and she turns him down at least 3 different times, and he still continues to pursue her until it ends up in an argument where he ends up hitting her. And then after all this is done, Kyoya blames this all on Erica. And how was any of this Erica's fault when she has turned him down and told him no at least 3 different times, and he's still pursuing her? So none of this is Erica's fault. It's all his fault, but yet Kyoya still blames it all on Erica, and that really pissed me off. So Kyoya really pissed me off in this volume, which is why it only got 3 stars. But I am going to finish the series, obviously, because overall I do like the series. Kyoya's an asshole. He's not as much as an asshole as the other asshole, but he is an asshole, and I already knew that, but he still pissed me off in this volume with blaming everything on Erica when it wasn't her fault. Yes, she was in the wrong for having misunderstandings surrounding the girl he was hanging out with, but nothing to do with this guy. She wasn't in the wrong because she was turning him down. She wasn't leading him on or anything. As soon as she found out that he still had feelings for her, she was tried to distance herself from him. Obviously, they worked together, so she had to see him at the convenience store. But she tried to quit her job. The manager said she couldn't. She had to wait a month, so she had no choice but to be around him in the store. And yeah, it was all on him. None of it was surrounding that was her fault, but yet Kyoka still blamed her for it. Now, go blame the asshole who's just slapped her in the face. Yeah, he annoyed me in this volume, which is why it got 3 stars. But the series does end in 16 volumes, so there's only another 4. So yeah, sorry for the spoilers. I just needed to mention that. Next, on the 27th and the 28th, I ran out of things to read because sci-fi hadn't arrived yet. Obviously, I didn't read... Oh wait, no, I forgot one because I don't have the volume anymore. On the 23rd, I read Sweet Room Escape Volume 2, which is a BL series. It's finished in 2 volumes. I no longer have that volume. I gave it to my niece because she's obsessed with BL at the minute, and I didn't want to keep the series anymore because obviously I had a big cold and I needed to get rid of some stuff, and that's one I got rid of. So yeah, I gave it to her. Don't worry, my niece she's an adult, she's 21. I'm not giving erotic BL to a child. So yeah, I read Sweet Room Escape Volume 2. And yeah, I found it okay. I found Volume 1 okay. So yeah, I didn't feel the need to keep it, so it's not here to include in the reading log, but I'll still mention it. And yeah, it was a BL. It was explicit. There was one point where he put his nipple inside of his penis, which is not something I've seen in a BL before. Yeah. So yeah, I read that. I gave it 3 stars. Anyway, I didn't read anything on the 24th, 25th and 26th. And then on the 27th and the 28th, as I was saying before I forgot that that was the thing, I read Volume 7 and Volume 8 of Daytime Shooting Star because I ran out of things to read and sci-fi had not arrived yet. So I went to my go-to, which I read when I run out of other stuff to read, which is Daytime Shooting Star. And yeah, I liked how these, well, Volume 8 anyway, I liked how, starting from Volume 8, the focus seems to be shifting from the teacher onto him. I can't remember his name. Her classmate. So I enjoyed that finally starting to focus more on him rather than the teacher, because I don't like the teacher. I'm not keen on him. He's kind of, well, one thing, he's her teacher, and he's also kind of reading her on when he knows he's right where he can't be with her. So I'm glad the focus is kind of starting to shift more off him now. As I said, I do know who she picks in the end. And yeah, because I've heard people mention this series a lot, and so I'd known who the end game was even before I started reading it. But yeah, I enjoyed it as it all. It's a good high school romance. Again, I gave both of them 4 stars. As I said, I'm liking the focus shifting more onto him now rather than the teacher. And I do like, I think I know Suzume as a main character. And the last thing I read this month was Radio Storm Volume 2, which I read on the 29th and the 30th. It took me a couple of days. I gave this 4.5 stars. I didn't read anything on the 31st. So yeah, I loved Radio Storm Volume 1. And I loved Radio Storm Volume 2 just as much. I talked about this one quite a bit in my previous video, but you haven't seen this one. Radio Storm is a BL post-apocalyptic horror-ish series, and I liked how this volume went a lot more into Rima. I think Rima's backstory. He's a child soldier, so that he didn't actually have a name. They were given names based on the phonetic alphabet, and he was Rima because he was L. He had a friend called Echo because he was E. So yeah, the first half of this volume was quite a bit talking about his past and the weird stuff that went on with him fighting as a kid, and it was very interesting when they were going over that part. And we also learned a bit more about the academy and a bit more about Sak's powers. I remember his name too because Sak is quite a simple name. It's just S-A-K, Sak. His first name is not Ball. So yeah, I enjoyed. We learn more about the academy. The academy is doing stuff other than what they're saying they're meant to do. As if, like, I suspected there was something shifty going on with the academy, and it seems like there is. So yeah, I really enjoyed Radio Storm Volume 2. And these two were also starting. Well, Sak's always been kind of besotted with Rima because Rima being his caller, that's kind of part of being a caller, is that the core users are like very besotted with them. But the feelings, Rima is starting to become warm up to Sak more and starting to develop feelings for him now, which is nice to see that. Because Rima is a very interesting character, and so is Sak, because we learn a lot more about him in this volume too, about his personality, and like I wasn't expecting the stuff that came out about him. But yeah, super interesting BL. If you want something a bit different, give this one a go. But I won't talk too much more about it here because I already gobbed on about it a lot in the previous video. Anyway, that's everything I read in December and everything that I read in 2025. I keep having to remember that it's 2026 now because New Year happened, and it's now like the 5th of January. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm reading, so there will be a reading log for January and February. And there's no need for a haul anytime soon because I've still got all that to read. And I don't like getting another haul until I get down to at least 10 volumes worth to read, because that gives it time to like dispatch and arrive. But I still have plenty to read, so there's no need for a January haul until probably near the end of the month, because I literally just got this at the end of December, so it hasn't been that long. So yeah, I'll see you then, and goodbye.